This is the Daily Saints Pod with Zach and Greg.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Saints Pod. My name is Greg, and as always, today joined by my good friend and wonderful co-host, Zach. And mate, nice day out at St Mary's with you yesterday. How you feeling today, mate?
I just need to stop coming, don't I, really? I genuinely don't think... I genuinely can't remember the last time I've seen a win. It's nuts. And we've won quite a few times this season.
Funnily enough, Zach, I think I remember the last time you went and saw a win, and I think it's when Sofiane Boufal scored that ridiculous goal against West Brom.
No, I just talk about that a lot because I remember it. It's probably the playoff final against West Brom. I think I should only come when we play West Brom. That's basically it. So yeah, it was a nice enough day out, to be fair. I, as you can tell, lost my voice almost immediately. This is why I couldn't do it week in, week out. But we had a nice time. It was just shame about the football, but it wasn't the worst game I've ever seen. Like, wasn't terrible. Just their goal was against the grain of play, and then they set back on that, and some of the most egregious time wasting I've ever seen. Yeah, combined with just a fan base that suit their manager, and I mean that in an actual complimentary way, because they were loud, and you have to admit that. But, you know, Nathan Jones is also quite loud. Doesn't mean that, you know...
Well, I mean, look, I think that it'll be taken in the right way, Zach, if I say what I said to you yesterday, in that Charlton are a team where you only follow Charlton if you're a proper fan of football, right? Like, you're not...
Yeah, nobody's glory hunting with Charlton Athletic, are they? That's the thing. And so, you know, other than the odd
both
sort of...
amazed, right, at the amount of police around to seemingly for the occasion.
Even my mum, who to be quite honest, forgets what the name of our podcast is very regularly, knows I do one, but is not very sort of like in the know, was baffled by the sheer amount of police in Southampton on the weekend. And it just seemed like quite a lot for, I don't know, is it just because of Nathan Jones? Is it they just bring a massive contingent of Met Police with them? Like, who knows, mate? But yeah, it was definitely noticeable, right?
Yeah, it was a strange one, for sure. But like I say, a bit of a disappointing day at the office. But I mean, overall, in the grand scheme of things, I know coming into the game we said kind of every game coming up is a must win. And whilst that still remains mostly true, if you sort of take a step back and look at where we are in the table, we're still only 4 points away from that magic sixth for playoffs, right? And sure, if we'd have won, we'd have been up in joint seventh with Birmingham. I mean, a point is better than nothing, and I mean, in the scheme of things, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of our playoff chances. It was a pretty decent performance. Like you say, I don't think there was a lot we could have done for the goal. It was just a good strike that found its way in. And it was frustrating at the end, right? Because you're thinking, we just need to, but not for the same reasons as it has been, right? Because there was urgency. They were getting the ball towards the goal, but it shouldn't have got to that, right? We should have just been a bit more clinical or a bit more creative with the amount of the ball that we had, I think, is where the frustration drives from for me.
Yeah, and I think that there are a couple of reasons for that, if I'm totally honest. Like the lineup, we're not really going to talk about because it threw no surprises. It was pretty much what we expected. But I think that the game started to turn after they scored their goal. And I don't want to be like one of those Arsenal fan TV people, but like weather changed, and that genuinely had an effect on the game, and it genuinely had an effect on the chances. And I don't know. I know that previously it worked against Leicester, bringing on an entirely new strike force, right? I don't think it quite had the same effect yesterday.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. So that's the thing, right? It all happened just after the goal, which is less than ideal circumstances. I presume at least two of the changes were planned at that point, and it, kind of the expected, right? Because we know Ross Stewart, especially in a week where we are playing 3 games and are probably going to want him for at least 2 of them. We know that he's only really going to play 60 minutes as we would expect, so him off for Carl Laren makes sense. And Fellows for Matsky, I don't have a problem with either particularly. It's kind of a different challenge for the fullback that Matsky brings than Fellows, right? Whereas Matsky's quite an aggressive, physical player as opposed to Tom Fellows' kind of technical touch and drag the player out of position approach. It kind of makes sense to change it up. I don't know if bringing Leo off was also part of that plan or kind of enforced, because
he went down pretty heavy.
Yeah.
But again, like, weather changed and that kept happening a little bit. I do think that maybe, if I know that it's probably like managing minutes for Charles more than anything, but I'd have preferred to keep him on, move him up, and take off Azaz, because Azaz didn't have the greatest day in the office either.
No.
Ultimately, it shouldn't have come down to us, not being able to get another goal. And I get that we knocked on the door towards the end, but it was very, I don't know, obviously it became super frantic, and they definitely did their job of slowing down the game as much as they possibly could. And I feel like the ref was fine right up until, the little brawl that they had on the pitch, which we didn't really get to see properly. But obviously we immediately knew that Downs was heavily involved, and of course was heavily involved.
It was not a surprise to anyone in the stadium that was the case.
Not even slightly. But, and I admittedly, we'd had some decisions that went well against us before, like for us beforehand. So that's probably one of the reasons why, right? Like, I'm not going to, a lot went our way. But then after that, it just kind of seemed to like go crazy. And like the lad, I don't know if the guy picked up an injury or what, but the guy who had cramp at the end for seemingly 20 minutes, it wasn't that long, but it felt like it, who would not move. The physios would not move him off of the pitch. The ref didn't really care, and I understand that if it was the other way around and we were doing game management and we were doing those things, we wouldn't be as upset, but it was just sort of incredibly stressful to watch. But if we had already gone 2-3 goals up, their solitary goal wouldn't have mattered. And yeah, like from a personal perspective, I just think swapping out the entirety of the strike force did not quite have the effect that they wanted it to.
Well, I mean, it was a game that kind of played out more or less exactly how you'd expect, right? They played the low block from the very start. They had their high press for the first couple of minutes and then sat behind the ball. They came for a draw, and we tried to play through them with not a great amount of success in the first half. And I mean, to be honest, we had, I think, 83 or something % possession at half time, and just really had not a huge amount to show for it. I mean, Azaz absolutely skied one from 10 yards, but to be fair, it kind of fizzed in at him, and there was a free kick. I think Bree had a free kick saved, and was it Manning that hit the crossbar?
Yeah, Manning came quite close early on.
But it's like, it's that's not as much as you'd like to get out of that much possession. You want clearer cut chances and goals. And then, playing against a team that's playing that way, that we have to have patience and break down, is something that we've struggled with all season. So, it is what it is. And we did break them down. We got that goal. Moment of quality right in front of us. Leo crossed the ball in, Stewart with a beautiful looping header into the back of the net. Fantastic. Right?
It's a very good goal. Very, very good goal.
And to me, it was at that point, really, where this kind of, I'm not going to say the writing was on the wall. I obviously didn't expect us to concede or hope we didn't. But at that point, the game opened up. And instead of pressing on and getting another, we kind of let them come into the game a bit. And we had a couple of chances. I mean, that unbelievable throw from Peretz down the line for Leo, who stopped and squared it back to Fellows. I don't know if Leo could have just taken the shot himself and done better with it, or Fellows just couldn't quite get it out from under his feet. It was just, that was like the golden opportunity at the right moment in the game, where if that goes in, that's the game done, right?
Stop predicting he's going to score. I keep telling you. Like, every time you predict he's going to score, he doesn't, mate.
Yeah.
And that might just...
To be fair, I didn't predict him to score this week. But
your boy did, though, and that didn't help. You were taking too many baggy schemes back in the day.
That was the turning point, really, right? Because that was the clear-cut opportunity. That goes in the net, we're 2-0 up, and you struggle to see anything other than really the floodgates opening. But they go up from their moment of quality, and it goes in, and then that's it. We go back to patience, and unfortunately, we've gone back to patience with 23 minutes left on the clock and 3 unbedded in attacking players. And it did, even with that, feel like it was going to come. It was, they tried and they put the ball in, they had their opportunities, but it just...
when we got 10 minutes added on, which admittedly, was a positive thing, and you could tell that it was probably going to be quite a bit of time, simply by the sheer amount of police they put towards the away end. And the fact that even my wife messaged me to go, it said +3 minutes, but then it said +10, and I was like, yeah, I think that some decisions were made. But yeah, just kind of every single one of them just kind of felt like they weren't, just nothing was coming off. And there was that like moment of what could have been poetic beauty right at the end with Bree taking the in-swing in, but then just it's what it was. Yeah, it just wasn't our day. But at least it's not like, as you pointed out, games that we've had like that before, where it's just kind of like the sense of urgency is not there. There was almost too much urgency, which resulted in a almost frantic energy, especially in that last 10 minutes. So, yeah, it's what it is.
Like I say, Charlton knew what they would come to do, and they, at the end, just had all of the bodies in the way, preventing us taking the shots. But
are you sure? Because I think that Nathan Jones is tactically the best manager in the world, right? And, we haven't beat Man City since him. Or made it to a semi-final of a Carabao Cup.
We haven't kept a clean sheet against Man City since him, apart from that one time that we did in the league, even in our worst season.
Yeah, but obviously tactically, he's just really, really good, which is why he's the best manager. God, like, imagine what it'd been like if he won. Like,
it would have been unbearable.
Well, yeah, it's to be honest, I can understand why he's wound up. We gave him a bunch of stick throughout the entirety of the
13 seconds into the game before the first cheer up Nathan Jones chant, we were counting. It was...
yeah, no, you're right. But, he's just a very odd individual. And, you can tell he's very, as I said, very, very passionate. But you can tell that, like, there's something about us that has rattled him deep down. And he says that it's not true. He's like, oh, yeah, I have... I've spent more time in Starbucks than I have at the club. And I'm like, and whose fault is that? And then he's like, oh, yeah, no, I don't really have... If I actually said what my opinions were of this place, you're just like, mate, like, just say, it was a really good... Just say it was a really good point for today. Be done with it.
As much as I completely get it from his side, though, like, whether you like him or not, and I think it's very clear how all Saints fans fall on that side of the fence. Like, he probably didn't get given a real fair shake of the stick here, even though he did not help himself in that scenario. And
but the reason that's why, though, right? Like, if I think that if he had made absolutely any effort to establish a morsel of likability amongst the fan base, right? After, if he'd spent more than 2 seconds before just agreeing to a Premier League job, looking at the background, the fans, the history, who our previous manager was and the type of temperament he had, right? And yeah, that is also entirely on Sports Republic, but the guy who was in charge of that decision is no longer making decisions because of that. And I just think that, to come in and sort of do, like, sort of just upset the apple cart, but in a way that wasn't like, it's not like he upset it tactically. He just seemed to, like, be out to have a go at the fans. And yeah, okay, we immediately judged him, but it's again, it's because of the fact that we expected more and better after, remember, we had just had a takeover where part of that was we were going to massively invest and supposedly, you know, bring in somebody that it was going to lead us on. And what we got was this guy that had been heading up the scrappy Luton side in league, like in championship. So there's a combination of things, but ultimately when you look at personalities, I just never think he was suited for our club.
Yeah, and I mean, to wrap up this segment,
suits Charlton.
To wrap up this segment neatly and nicely and kind of put the full perspective on it, as an ex-Saints manager, that was Nathan Jones' first league point at St Mary's. So it kind of says it all, really, doesn't it? Look.
See, look, we're actually more complimentary than you'd think. I don't know. It's the Nathan Jones derbies have been done for the season now. We have won on 6-2 on aggregate overall.
Yeah, exactly.
Somehow more goals than our actual derby. But there we are.
Yeah. I don't know. Did you let's try and think about like the performance as a whole though. Did what you saw out there kind of convince you that we can sort of push on and keep the performances up and make the playoffs? Because we didn't lose, we drew. So what's that?
No,
5 wins, 2 draws in the last 7 now?
Okay, so every single team puts a low block in front of us for the next, couple games.
Yeah, we'll work it out eventually, right?
Yeah, you'd like to think. I'd like to have thought we'd worked out by now. And again, the problem is that we have a lot of players that are very hot and cold as well. And like Azaz being one of those, like he's had such a purple patch and just hasn't quite got back into it. And then he's had some sort of good run of games.
You shared with me some pretty damning stats on his performance yesterday, which
it was
in one of those moments where I kind of regret in the preview saying that it would be the sort of game that might suit him because, what was it? 90 minutes, no duels 1 out of 7, no crosses completed out of 4, no successful dribbles out of 2, shots on target 0 out of 4. It's not pretty reading, but
he created 2 chances. He created 2 chances. He passed. Yeah, there was at one point we saw him go on a massive run where we were both shocked by the fact that he went on a massive run. Which
it was a proper high press. It was good.
Yeah, can't work out if I'm more annoyed that it means that we know he can do it and he's not, or that I'm happy that he has. But yeah, it's like it wasn't. The problem is that having such a key position of the field being that hot and cold, you are then also relying on the Leo Cienzas of the world. And I love Leo, and sometimes I wish he'd pass more. And Ross Stewart is good when he's fit, and it's about keeping him fit. And at one point he went down and he clutched his hamstring, and me and you took a breath because we were like, oh no, not again. And luckily he got back up, and that's a bit of a worry. And I think the problem is that when we missed out on the top spots and almost missed out on the playoffs under Russell Martin in the championship, it was basically just down to the day, right? That's how it kind of felt. It very much felt like it was just ours to lose and we would go through like a little bit of mental. At the moment, it very much feels like there is a house of cards, right? So if Bree goes out injured or Manning picks up an injury now, we have literally at that point got no left back, okay? We have 37 midfielders at this point. Azaz, there's other sort of Jay Robinson and Shea Charles. There's no one really to replace him, which is probably why, even when he's not having the best game, we'll kind of keep him in there. Ross Stewart goes out injured. We've got Carl Aaron and Archer, who looked all right in shooting practice, to be fair. Admittedly, significantly more balls went over the top than we'd have preferred. But, there is just, it feels like we are like an injury away from picking up draws and stuff. So I don't really know, how, if I feel confident necessarily, but that is also entirely my personality. Like it might just be I'm pessimistic because I'm pessimistic.
It was a solid enough a performance that it didn't completely abolish the hope, right? Is I guess the thing.
There was I haven't come out of it life.
Mad. Nah, and I think Edozie looked pretty sharp when he came on.
Very, very good.
I wish he shot more.
Yeah.
Even having seen him shoot with us in previous 10 years at the club. I'd still wish he would just shoot a bit more. But again, it was a point in the game when, Charlton had every man behind the ball, not allowing that to come off. So it was a bit trickier. But yeah.
He's really impressed me simply for the fact that he's been away. He played in a completely different league and a completely different team setup, and then was away and then part of the club for so long in the background, not really getting a chance, not really, didn't get a loan, didn't get a move, come back into the side and has just come back into the side with the ability to play football still. And that's really positive and really good because we've seen, admittedly he's younger than some of the other ones, but we've seen what happens when you leave Joe Aribo out for a long time and then he suddenly came back in and it wasn't really that great. And
it makes you wonder what was happening behind the scenes up until the point that he got given a shot, right? Because we know that that's what he brings to the table. We have seen that for us, and it's no secret that what he lacks is that end product. But if he can, make a fullback think twice and run at them and get a cross in, that's just as good as anything, right?
It could have been as simple as they thought he was going to go in January. He thought he was going to go in January. They kind of and ahed about it for ages. He carried on training. We don't know. We're never going to know, mate, quite frankly. That kind of stuff was always going to be kept behind the scenes. For me, the positive part of it is that he has sort of come out of the blue after a long time being out of the side, and he is putting in the performances that shows that he should be there. He is a very, very competent substitute for Leo Cienza. He is played in the right position. And again, no disrespect to Jay Robinson. If anything, I'd maybe like to see Jay Robinson when he's back fit again, because I think he's had an injury, come on for Azaz a little bit more rather than always being the replacement for Leo. It kind of did him a discredit. And now, but I'm very happy to have Adozie back in the side. Cam Bragg came on. It wasn't really a lot he could do, but it was nice to see him get more first team minutes too. There were some positives to take from that game for sure. Yeah, their goal was frustrating. Yeah, we probably maybe shouldn't have had to have relied on one goal. But even before the game, you said, I don't actually know how I feel about my score prediction anymore. Feeling more like it's a 1-0 because they're just going to shove a low block in. It's going to be really, really hard to grind them down. Exactly what happened. They just got lucky on another goal. But fair play to them. That was what they came to do from the start. And, I wish nothing but the best for their fan base and the fact that they were very, very loud, all good things about the championship are teams like that, right? That's where I'm at.
For sure. And it's, like I say, it's easy to feel frustrated because perhaps we should have done better, but also I forgot about Leo's volley that was saved and cleared off the line quite early in the game. But if that isn't cleared off the line and goes in, or Manning's shot is 3 centimeters lower and goes in off the crossbar, then you're already looking at a different result. We had the opportunities; they were there. We created the chances. We're just not quite lucky enough to put any of them away. And their goal. It's just it wasn't like it. At least it wasn't like Peretz passed it to them or anything. It was just a scramble. And other than that, I think really that was the only time I felt they were a proper threat on goal. I think we had another one cleared just off the line, but I don't know. It was, or there was one where their fans thought they scored, but it actually went behind the goal. Right, that was a fun one.
That was fun. That was enjoyable. But yeah, it just wasn't to be our day. And we knew that as soon as we beat Charlton the way that we beat them last time round, right? I wish we'd done better, but this is the other thing where I say, I don't know how prepped we are. If we were to ever go up anyway, I guess we'll just have to see what happens. Either way, I feel better about the season than I did, say, 6 months ago. So
yeah, definitely. And look, more games coming up in quick succession this week that potentially have the ability for this one to slide under the radar as a small dip, right? If we beat QPR at home on Wednesday, no one's thinking about it too much, and then off to Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday, which because I know you love those jokes where I mess around with days. But yeah, I mean, look, positives to be taken, still a bit frustrating. I mean, just a textbook 1-1 draw, right? What more can you say?
And for those that have stuck with us to the end, because, no one's massively thrilled with a 1-1 draw and do not usually listen to us speak about it a lot. We appreciate you wholeheartedly, and we'll be back to, cover some more football, Greg, right? Seems to be what we do.
That's the thing. The joy of football is that it never ends. There is always more football to talk about. So, yeah, you're right. Look, that is all that we have got time for today. But we will be back tomorrow to preview the next one as it comes up thick and fast. QPR to preview tomorrow. But look, let us know in the socials, in the comments, what you think. How are you feeling about the draw? Are you more on the side of frustration? Are you seeing the bigger picture and that it is, it's not the end of the world. We're still well on our way to positivity. I don't know. Let us know. We are Daily Saints Pod, absolutely everywhere. X, Blue Sky, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. Hit us up. Let us know. We love hearing from you. While you're there, why not drop a like and a subscribe, because it goes so far to helping us out. And we love seeing it. We love hearing from you, reading through all the comments. Until tomorrow, everyone, have a wonderful day, and we'll see you then.
This is the Daily Saints Pod with Zach and Greg.